Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Michael's Corner. Tonight, I will be interviewing one of my good friends in wrestling. His name is Craven Knight. Um, I cannot wait until I hear his story on how he got into the wrestling business and whatnot. So before I bring on my guest, I would like to give some shout outs to a few people. So, first is we got to give a shout out to the state of pro wrestling. Okay, you can follow them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. My a lot of shout out I want to give out to is my friends from the Wrestle Talk podcast. And you can follow them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And finally, I want to give a shout out to Discussion Pro Wrestling. It's a Facebook group that I joined just three months ago. I be posting content over there as well. So it's Discuss Pro Pro Wrestling Facebook group, and you can send them your invite to join the group. So those are the people who I want to give a shout out to, and well, let's not waste any more time. I've been wanting to interview Craven Knight. Oh my God, ever since a couple years ago when I interviewed him, and the last time I interviewed him, it was so noisy. But this time, it's not going to be noisy. Because damn it, I'm going to make sure this interview is successful, and I'm damn sure good at it. So, let's bring my friend on. Hello.
Hey, you hear me
How's it?
okay?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I just had to do that little introduction there.
Yeah, for sure. I remember that day because like I was in the moment when you were interviewing me, it was extremely noisy and I was
Mm-hmm.
making suggestions to you to kind of get a microphone set up and all that, and I know
Mm-hmm.
you kept telling me periodically every time you saw me that you were working on it and all that. And it's cool to see how far you've come with your YouTube channel and your Instagram and all, seeing all the interviews that you're doing. So it's like good for you. I'm really happy that you've been really taking it seriously.
Thank you. I'm taking your advice to heart.
Hmm.
I am gonna work on getting that microphone, so I'm gonna use this time to get the microphone because return, once I go back to wrestling shows, all the wrestlers better watch out.
Yeah. Like for me,
If, if,
I only have like, I have a big collection of headphones. Like if anyone that knows me knows I have a lot of headphones. But the thing is, I only have one set of headphones that is good for calls, which is these ones, which actually have a wire to them. It's the only one with a decent microphone and some decent enough noise canceling. Anything else, I would just like, I'm too paranoid that I won't come through properly. So I hope this works out for the interview.
yeah, oh, it works out just fine. Well, um, I have some questions for you that I am dying to ask you because, the last time I interviewed you, it was kind of noisy.
Mhm.
And now that I got this platform,
Mhm.
I can now it could be a successful interview.
Yes, for sure. I'm happy to be on. I appreciate you having me on again.
Yes, yes. And I appreciate you taking your time out of your schedule to do this.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of making some trunks right now for somebody, so I have to make some
Oh
chairs
my
for a guy. So
God! You just hacked it. We will get to that question in a minute, okay?
yeah.
Because I am dying to hear this, you
Oh
know.
yeah, for sure.
So my first question to you is, how did you get started in wrestling?
Well, for me, it started when I was pretty young, and I think a lot of stories you hear from anybody that's on television now, they all started about 12, 13, 14 years old, and that was the case for me. I started I started at 14 years old, just kind of learning the basics with friends. So it really just kind of started just messing around with friends in schools, like in sixth grade, and just kind of doing really stupid stuff in between classes, during classes, pretending we were wrestlers on television. I always pretended I was Stone Cold Steve Austin, and we'd have like, fun matches in the parks or in backyards and stuff like that. After meeting up with my best friend again in high school, we started just doing some backyard wrestling stuff. And that's where it just kind of really picked up again, where we were just kind of throwing on shows in one of our friends' backyards on a big Olympic style kind of crash pad, and but also wrestling in parks too. So I was taking big, giant back bumps on those like thick park mats, sometimes even on concrete or just grass and dirt and all that. And definitely didn't do my body any favors as time went on. But I started there. One of the guys there was training at a place, I believe, in Long Island. I believe it was called the LIWF Doghouse. And he saw me, and he saw that I was the most, out of everybody that was just messing around the backyard, I was the most athletic looking of all of them. So he kind of took me under and brought me with him, and that's kind of, it all happened very fast. Like it's not like I paid a legit tuition to learn the ropes or anything like that. But also this was the time where Tough Enough was on television, and I'm very much a visual learner, watching stuff on television and just picking up on how people do things when it comes to just making really poor choices physically, as far as like, just doing things I shouldn't do, like watching things like Jackass, or, not following the commercial rule of don't try this at home, as a lot of wrestlers never really did anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And but I was teaching myself how to take back bumps on a futon mattress that was on the floor. And once I got into a ring, I was able to take things that I saw on television and try to apply them. So I would, take back bumps how I saw them do in Tough Enough. I would hit the ropes how The Rock hits the ropes. So if there's something people pay attention to, and you see me hit the ropes, or even how I jump over somebody when they drop down on their stomach and I jump over them, my movement is very reminiscent of The Rock. I do that. My punches are very reminiscent of Stone Cold Steve Austin, or even of Kurt Angle. So a lot of my movements are really just inspired and kind of taken from other professional wrestlers that I idolized at the time. So when I finally got to get into the ring, it was very quick for me to kind of pick up on everything. So quick that I kind of had my first quote unquote official match at 14 years old. So, but because it was in a ring, it was recorded for public access, but public access, anybody can really get on there if they really paid for it. It was pretty much what pandemic wrestling was, over the last year. Like it was empty arena, or not even arena, it was an empty warehouse where the ring was. It was all dark around the ring, and I wrestled a guy and I got my butt kicked and all that stuff, but it was a fun time. And then, and that was all in New York. I grew up in the Bronx in New York, and I was doing that for a couple of years, and then just doing matches, even in boxing rings too. And after that, just to kind of shorten the story, because I can go on forever about this stuff, I moved to Minnesota when I was 16, and So 2 years between 16 and 18, I was pretty idle. Like my wrestling, I was idle from professional wrestling. But anyone who went to high school with me knew me as a guy that came from New York, always talking about wrestling, obsessed with wrestling. I made friends. My first friends that I've actually made were guys that saw me reading Stone Cold's autobiographies, the Stone Cold Truth, and
Okay.
we just became friends and went to the Eddie Guerrero tribute show the day that he passed. Got to go
Yeah,
to
I
that
was
live.
there. I
Yeah,
was
were you?
there with a
Nice.
friend of mine's. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then with these friends, we were, wrestling on a trampoline in his backyard and stuff like that, and that was a good time. But one of his friends, and some wrestlers, I don't know if you remember him, Johnny Ridlin. He was training at MPW and Midwest Pro Wrestling at the time, and he was telling me we just kind of became friends through our mutual friend Mike at in high school and stuff. But we didn't go to high school at the same time. But he already paid his tuition. He was training to be a wrestler at MPW, and he told me about the guy Sheriff Johnny Emerald who was running the camp, and said that like, yeah, you can come try everything out. And I was like, I don't know, I'll be able to pay the tuition to just try out and do all this stuff. And he was like, you know what? He said that just show up, show him what you know, and see if. And he said, if you kind of know what you're doing, you just let you come and train whatever you want. I was like, all right, sounds good. I can't beat that. Thank you, Knyte. You're awesome. But so yeah, I came to the MPW training camp. That's kind of where I met guys like Eric Hannon, Chris Jordan, Pete Hughes, Rain at the time when she was there. So I met Eddie Sharkey. It's kind of the only big name I can give people when they ask me who trained me. I tell them Eddie Sharkey when really he didn't train me. He was just kind of around. But used the word training very loosely with that. But I got there and I just, I did the hitting the ropes, taking bumps, locking up, doing some technical wrestling and all that. And at the end of it all, the sheriff just came up to me and was like, you know what, you know what you're doing. You can train here whenever you want. I never had to pay a dime to train. And my second day of training, he said, yeah, we're going to have you at First Avenue. You're going to tag with Ryan Cruz against the Junk Squad, Chris Jordan and Pete Hughes. And I was like, and to this day, I think back to that and how awesome that was, that my first match in Minnesota was with those guys, because to this day, they're like my favorite people in the locker room as far as professional wrestling goes. I look at them as like brothers. Chris Jordan taught me a lot when it came to psychology. Ryan Cruz is one of the funniest and most entertaining people, one of the few, probably one of two people who's ever just made me laugh during a wrestling match. And like while we're wrestling, when I'm trying to save face and not, break character and all that, he just always makes me laugh. It's always a good time. And a guy that I have natural chemistry with, that we don't need to talk anything over. We can go in there and just do it, and it's always a good time. And then Pete Hughes, just one of the coolest guys ever. And so yeah, that was like a really great time. And then the rest is pretty much history as far as how it goes. It just kind of started from sixth grade, from being idiots and doing backyard stuff, to high school, to more backyard stuff, and finally actually getting to a ring, to some idle periods, and then coming to Minnesota, then idle periods in Minnesota, and then just, meeting the right people and getting the right opportunity to show what I can do, and just kind of go forward from there and just kind of take whatever steps I can to get on whatever shows I could. So yeah, that's pretty much how I got into it when it comes to New York and when it comes to Minnesota.
Okay, that is quite a story. Wow.
There's so much more to it, but it's just I have to leave stuff out to not make the story longer than it should be.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned that you had some matches with Ryan Cruz.
Yes.
And oh my God. I remember that too, because every time, I see you two wrestle, you guys have great chemistry.
Yes.
Great chemistry in the ring. It's
Like
like,
whenever I do get a chance to work with Ryan, it's like it's so easy to go over matches. It's so easy to like go out there and just be entertaining. Like I trust him when it comes to the in-ring stuff, but like he makes me feel like I'm well aware that like I'm talented. I know what I'm capable in the ring, but when I work with him, he makes me feel like the best wrestler in the world. Not
Uh-huh.
not mainly not in contrast or comparison, and not putting him down in any way. It's more of a compliment to him that like I feel like
Mhm.
I'm making him the best and he's making me the best. We make each other better when we work together. So to this day, he's
Yeah.
still one of my favorite, all-time favorite people to work with. Him and Arya Davari as well.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because I remember it was August. I think it was around August. I believe it was 2014. It was at a battleground show that I believe I was at, and
Okay.
you was facing Ryan Cruz.
Mhm.
Now, I believe you was heel and he was babyface.
Yeah.
I actually rooted for you,
Yeah.
and then I remember like at the end of the match, when he defeated you, he stuck his middle finger at me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my
You play
God.
you play your role as a fan very well. As far as like being loud and just kind of like, if anything, maybe helping the rest of the crowd really get into the shows. I appreciate you at shows. Whether you're cheering me or booing me, I appreciate you being there because like sometimes you record matches and it's helpful for footage, especially if guys want to put stuff together. But just you screaming and chanting and just like antagonizing and all that, it's a good time. So I always appreciate it from that perspective.
Yeah, you'll be seeing more of that. Oh, I can't wait to go to the wrestling show next month. I'm
Yeah.
going to an MIW show on June 5th,
Okay.
and that will be in Plymouth, Minnesota, I
Hmm.
believe.
Yeah, I got
So,
that one mixed up with the one that I'll be doing with Rennie D. 'Cause I didn't realize how many they were doing, so I was kind of confused by the poster when I saw it. But yeah, but I did pick up on a few other shows for the summer and for the fall coming soon. So yeah, I'm
mhm,
trying to get out there more. I'm trying to work on some more stuff for myself to try and be different than what I was doing before, so I can
yeah.
really create some more opportunities for myself.
Hmm. So, okay, now my next question to you is you make your own wrestling gear.
Yes.
So, what inspired you to do this?
So when it comes to wrestling gear, I've never, besides some random items, say like kick pads or knee pads, I've never purchased custom wrestling gear for myself, period. Never once. But I've heard horror stories from other wrestlers saying that they waited 6 months or they waited a year and they got something and it wasn't what they actually ordered and all that. So it was a lot. So the idea of ordering wrestling gear for myself was kind of a deterrent. I think the only custom wrestling gear item I ever purchased was my wrestling boots, uh, which are right here. I have them like right in my doorway.
Hmm.
And I ordered these because I specifically wanted just basic boots, but I wanted a specific cut. These kind of arc down because they kind of play a push-up bra to the calf. I didn't want to
Hmm.
cover my calf because I actually work out and try to showcase certain parts of my body. But anyway, I uh, so I didn't really want to look into ordering custom wrestling gear or paying that much money for gear. So I went a very cheap route for myself. Like when I had my first match in Minnesota, I didn't have wrestling gear. I had really baggy athletic pants that I tucked into soccer pads in that first match with Ryan Cruz and the Junk Squad. And after that, I was like, okay, so I have to look into stuff. And at the time, High Spots was the thing. So I ordered kick pads from High Spots, and I decided to work on buying plain items. I used to wear these athletic pants because I was kind of insecure about my legs. I had very small legs for my body, but I was working on them as time went. So I didn't really want to showcase my legs just yet. So I wore loose athletic pants, and I would always buy different ones. And what I first started doing was using duct tape. I was using duct, so like, and I still have my first pair. They're packed away somewhere, which I'm eventually going to take out. But it was just gray pants. I have just CK and like what I can think to be the font from the movie Blade, which is the font that a lot of wrestlers kind of tend to use when they just use two letters. Just CK in that font with blue duct tape with a black duct tape outline, and it is like plastered on and crazy glued onto the pants. And funny enough, and I had that when I was 18, those have held up still to this day. Even after washing them a bunch of times, they have not, like, they've adhered to those pants like forever. They're not coming apart. So I kind of went that route for a lot of gear items I was just making for myself. So I just wanted to make my own stuff, kind of get creative with it, and just, and as far as inspiration goes, inspirations kind of came from guys like Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, but also especially Rey Mysterio. And not so much so as like, you know, what they were wearing, but the fact that they were wearing different stuff all the time, whether it's a different color combination or it's just a different design. But so I kind of did that. I always want to have, I didn't want to wear the same thing twice. Until to this day, because I sew and make my own wrestling gear, I rarely wear the same thing twice. I even have gear items I've made and never worn at all. So I delved into the pants stuff, and then I started diving into using fabric paint. And it's a puffy paint that you can buy at a craft store or at a Walmart or whatever, and you can use it. And I ended up getting so good at it, I felt like a tattoo artist using it. So I was able to use it in a way to make it look like a flat sheet of film instead of just looking like a bunch of brushes of just like, you know, paint coming out of a tube or whatever. And I eventually, like, you know, just to shorten the story of anything, because I moved from the pants to tights. And so I would just buy plain tights off the internet. I think I got them off Amazon, or I think there was another site I was able to just get tights, and I got, like, you know, some various colors, and then I would just use fabric paint to apply stuff to them. And then eventually, once I got a little bit more comfortable with my legs, you know, kind of catching up with the rest of my body being thicker, because I got to a point where I was working out and doing leg exercises every day. So I was like, every time I worked out, which is frowned upon, don't ever do the same exercises every single day. You will destroy your joints, especially if you're getting older. But at the time, I was like 18, 19, so I was just like, I really want to build my legs up. So once my goal was to wear trunks, because I wanted to be like The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, my favorite guys who wore trunks. So I got the trunks, but I wasn't sewing yet. I haven't never used a sewing machine. I just bought plain trunks off of Amazon, and I used fabric paint. And the cool thing about trunks and using fabric paint is that you have less surface area to apply a design. So it just made it easy kind of to get creative with that. And I would just like buy knee pads or just stick with the same black kick pads and knee pads that I had. So getting to to me sewing, my best friend, he's known as Blade Valak, is my best friend in New York. He was sewing and doing some wrestling gear items for himself, and then some items for other people too. And he's kind of since then has kind of steered away from it with frustrations with the whole, dealing with people with it. But after I visited him, after doing a show in, I believe in Jersey with him, we did a match together. And that weekend, he was showing me his stuff with the sewing machine. I was like, why don't I just do this? So when I got back to Minnesota, I just spent $100 on a sewing machine on Amazon, ordered it, and then for a few weeks just kept messing with it. And I just kept trying to make tights, or not trying to make tights, I kept trying to make trunks. I just wanted to perfect trunks, but it was a lot of trial and error. So I really committed to just figuring out what materials worked and just learning about the materials and needles. And it's there's a lot to really understand when it comes to using a machine and all the items for the machine, but also to understand the fabrics that work best when you're creating these items. And after doing it for what feels like maybe 6 or 7 years, it doesn't even feel like that long, but I think it's been 6 or 7 years, maybe even longer. I feel like even after a 4-year period, I finally perfected doing trunks. And then, but being able to do that and just make my own stuff, it's just I felt like I was completely limitless. That I could do whatever I want. I was capable of just doing exactly what Rey Mysterio did. Just had, if you see Rey Mysterio now, and I follow the person that makes his masks, that dude never has to work for anybody else because all he does is make masks for Rey Mysterio. So, because Rey Mysterio has a different mask every single time he works. He doesn't wear the same thing twice from what it looks like. So so that inspiration really hit me when I was finally able to figure out how to make my own stuff, and I just, had a good time with it. And me, I'm not a flashy person when it comes to wrestling gear. I'm very basic. I just like my simple color combinations. And as time went on, I just, especially since I got to a point where I was making gear for other people and getting commissioned to do that, I like as much flashy materials that I have, I only care about color and contrast. So I like having just like a nice base and just some simple stuff. So in the realm of more like Finn Balor, how like he doesn't wear flashy stuff, but the material, his base material is really interesting because it has like a texture to it and stuff. I like that. It's just very, very simple, very sleek, and that's always been kind of like my idea for stuff. It's just simple stuff, not anything too flashy. 'Cause I save all that energy for other people. But after doing stuff for myself, guys got curious. The first person I did gear for other than myself was for Ryan Cruz. Like I just made him a pair of free tights, like these silver and black tights that had the RC with the check mark looking like the RC Cola logo. And like I think back, I was like, I know I made him way too tight, but he wore them a few times, which I thought was pretty cool. And I've made him other items since, but words started getting around. I was still a novice at it, so I look back at those things that I made for guys at the time, and I felt like I can't justify charging for these things, but it's just like, but I have to make money somehow. But over time, I started really getting better at it. I stopped for a while because I just didn't want to do that for other people anymore, and then just like I think once I wanted to get back into wrestling because I had some few idle periods over the last decade. When I got back into wrestling, then that itch just kind of like, came back to just like, not just to wrestle, but to make stuff for other people and, try and really get some practice at it. And then but the idea of doing it kind of full time where I don't have to work a regular day job anymore. Like it took me a while to realize that I didn't need a day job because of doing it. Like as soon as I was able, I quit a day job that like really made me depressed. And I just tried to do something part-time, working at a fabric store that I would buy fabrics from while making wrestling gear. And I was just like, I don't need a job. Like, I don't need this. Like as long as I'm aggressive and on top of getting orders in, I don't need an additional job. But that's pretty much like the long story of, how I started with gear and where, and where it pretty much all came to be. Yeah, so.
And I could tell you this, Craven, you do a damn good job at making people's wrestling gears.
Thank
When I interview these wrestlers, I always talk about you. I always have you heard about Craven Knyte? He
you.
makes good wrestling gear. You should hit him up, man.
Yeah,
You know.
I appreciate that.
And I really appreciate that you take the time to do that for these wrestlers because who wants to spend $500-$600 on gear? Rather, you can have somebody like you can make the gear for them.
Well, they're still
Doesn't
paying that money, but but thing is, it's a matter because the way I look at it when it comes to guys ordering wrestling gear, because it's not like I do gear for free. It's like I wouldn't be able to pay my bills if that was the case. But I'm happy to provide that service. Like I've spent like most of my life has been working in retail, and I've developed, and also working as a personal trainer too. I developed a certain level of just like communication skills when it comes to customer service while working at Walmart, but also through personal training, just being able to talk to people and just be able to sell in a certain way. And I take pride in the fact that I'm able to communicate with these guys and make them feel confident that, they can pay me for items and that they're going to get what they get. And then I instill some more confidence by having a YouTube channel that showcases me doing stuff or regularly posting photos on the Instagram, the Break Knyte Creative Instagram page, and just showing that like I'm always up to something. There'll be times where I'm idle and I stay away because like I'm a one-man operation. Like every now and then I have to post stories and tell guys that like, look, I'm not ghosting you. I'm not ignoring you. I'm trying my best to just get orders done because trying to do the administrative part along with the making part is, and also trying to live a life and enjoy yourself. Like all my creative energy is taken up by doing wrestling gear. So all my other hobbies kind of take a back seat. And I recently just moved in the last month. I just moved into my own place now. So now I'm in a place where it's like I could set all my stuff up and I can't dive back into my hobbies. But because of the move, I'm really behind. So I'm trying to really catch up. But it's like I can't respond to every person. It's mentally exhausting because it's like it's not just simply just responding back to Mike. It's like because to you message me and it's just to you it's just one person messaging the other person, where it's like on my end you message me, but there's also about 10, 15, 20, 30 other people that message me that I can't respond to all of them. It's like I mentally can't handle the idea of just responding to one person. I have to be able to get back to everybody. So it ends up being like a big thing. But the service that I can provide guys is just making them feel confident that they're going to get what they actually ask for. I make sure that things are cleared up before I cut any material. So I create renders for guys if it's necessary, or hopefully they provide me with stuff, the designs themselves, so I don't have to do any of that work. But that's a whole another can of worms. But just to make it clear that like I'm happy to kind of provide that service and just kind of be a little bit more unique in comparison to other gear makers. So I don't know how other gear makers do their stuff, like as far as like dealing with people. But the way I do it, I feel like the personal aspect of just like being able to make guys feel comfortable with coming to me for this stuff is just something I take a lot of pride in, because like I know what I'm capable of, but it's just like, but it does all kind of take a toll on me sometimes. It gets really exhausting.
Mm-hmm. All right. So my next question to you is, so in addition to you making wrestling gear, you also make something else.
Yes.
You make, do you make action figures as well?
I do make action figures. To say I make action figures is like kind of really like using the term loosely. It's more of just like I just customize action figures, like because it's not like you say make action figures, it makes you think that I have a little side factory where I'm creating all the pieces and all that. I like buying figures, and me and my friend Sean Slade, we kind of work together sometimes, whether it's like making dioramas or working on custom action figure stuff. Most of the work that I've done for custom action figure stuff is really just helping him out with his collection and making certain items and making clothing for little 6-inch to 7-inch action figures, which is like, a totally different realm in itself. But yeah, but in a loose way, yeah, I do make action figures.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's my next question. Oh my God. And I think this is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on July 2nd, you go one-on-one with the returning Rennie D. He's coming out of retirement for the first time in 7 years.
Yes.
Do you have a message to send to Rennie D?
Oh, for sure. So Rennie D and I have a bit of a history. We have worked as tag teams together. We wrestled against each other a couple of times, and we have been extra talent together for WWE as well. And with all that history and as much respect as I have for the guy, none of that matters. Him and I get to step into the ring, and it's going to be two of probably the best looking and best athletic guys in the ring. And thing is, he's been idle from wrestling for about 7 years, so who knows how well he can even hold up, especially to me, because even though I haven't wrestled in the last year because of the pandemic, I have still kept in shape with doing stuff at home. And now that I'm getting back into actual gyms, I'm about to get back into my habits. There's no stopping. There's no stopping me. There's no stopping.
Yeah,
Craven.
I know. You're gonna show Rennie D that Craven Knight
You know,
Craven
he
Knight's not anything to mess with. So
yeah.
when Craven Knight gets in there, he's just gonna get an ass whooping that's tailor made by Craven Knight. I'll tell you that.
Oh my God. And hopefully I'll be filming that because let me tell you, I need to get my YouTube channel. I'm telling you, my YouTube channel, when you go to my YouTube channel, it be nothing but interviews. And I gotta change that gap. So
Yeah.
hopefully in June, when everything opens back up, I'll be recording the wrestling action and emailing it messaging it to some of the wrestlers
Yeah.
because they appreciate me doing that. But at the same token, if I gotta follow the rules because each wrestling promotion I go to, they got a
Mhm.
different set of rules. So
Yeah.
if I can't film it, then I gotta follow their rules and their procedures.
Oh, for sure. And I'm sure no wrestler is expecting you to record everything. Like, if anyone does, that is just stupid on their part. Like, I would never expect you to go to a show and just be like, oh, yeah, Mike is going to record my match, no problem.
Oh no,
And
no.
it's like, no, that's just not how it goes. We are, like, wrestlers are fortunate, extremely fortunate, that you go through the trouble of recording and being a fan the way you are. And that footage is actually good enough to use I've used some of your footage to add to making little music videos and creating reels for myself.
Mhm.
So yeah, you're definitely a benefit when it comes to being a fan and being someone that's just there that records and providing that bit of service that no one's even asking for, but because you're such a fan and you love what we're doing, you make that effort, and it's really sweet, and so I appreciate you for that.
Yeah, thank you, my friend. Um, so besides making custom action figures and ring gear, you mentioned that you are a personal trainer, right?
I was a personal trainer. I haven't been a personal trainer for a few years.
Okay, all right. So what else do you do like on your personal time?
At this point, it's really hard to tell. Like as far as like me on my own, I'll tend to just kind of, especially lately, like I get exhausted from, working on stuff. So a lot of my creative energy is taken up by making wrestling gear for other people. So it's all just work pretty much. But just being able to just relax and have a drink and watch a movie or a bunch of videos, hang out with my cat. Sometimes on the
Oh,
weekends, just
oh, I'm
what?
sorry. What's your cat's name?
His name is Pubert.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because I know you mentioned not to, I think last year or the year before that your cat passed away.
Yeah, that was my cat Selena. She was a stray that I took in, and at the time, I was like alone. She filled a huge void in my life. She was very cuddly and she was very affectionate, so it's why she kind of filled the void. Pubert isn't as affectionate, but he likes being wherever I am, so
Hmm.
it's a very different cat. But yeah, but at that time, that was a while back, and then Pubert, my girlfriend at the time, got him for me, and we thought he was a girl at the time, but he was taken away from his litter way too soon, so we couldn't see whether it was a boy or a girl. So we assumed it was a girl, and then the vet told us that it was a boy, so we changed the name from Eva because we named it Eva, which is just a name that I picked as it was a character from a video game that I like, and he switched it to Pubert, which is the name of the baby from Adam's Family Values, which not a lot of people really know that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's my cat Hubert. I'll hang out with him, and he'll just kind of lay at my feet whenever I'm just kind of sitting around watching movies. But on the free time, really, I enjoy just hanging out with my friends. Hang out with my friend Sean, who I mentioned. Will, like, if anything, like him and I would just meet and we'll just go get lunch, or we'll watch wrestling together, or watch a bunch of YouTube videos, or we get together on days there's wrestling events and we'll just watch it all as a group, him, me, and
Mhm.
a bunch of our other friends, and just and it's wrestling is so much more fun to enjoy with a group of friends than it is on your own. And
Mhm.
but yeah, that's what I'll do is I would just hang out, drink, watch wrestling, or watch YouTube, or even watch even getting on a kick of watching old '90s action movies, like watching a lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies uh
Mhm.
every week. We make sure to try and watch one every week and remember just how good they were back in the day and how different they were. But yeah, that's kind of what I get into as far as like other hobbies. Like sometimes I play video games, but like I've moved in and I haven't played a video game since I came in here. Like I
Mhm.
somehow struggle taking the time to sit down and do it, and
Mhm.
because I always feel like I should be getting some work done. But yeah, that's pretty much it. But nothing too crazy, especially with the pandemic over the last year. Is not really a whole lot to do. So most of
Mhm.
it has just been just me by myself doing work, maybe doing some hobbies, um, or hanging out with friends, pretty much. In a safe way. Like we all, it's not like we were still hanging out like when the pandemic was really bad, but we're
Mhm.
all being pretty safe with it. So.
Yep. And the next time, you and Sean get together, you guys could just sit down and watch this episode,
Oh yeah.
because oh my goodness. I mean, I'm getting better and better at interviews because I started interviewing people. As a matter of fact, this is, I started interviewing wrestlers. Oh my God.
For a very long time. I remember always
Yesterday,
seeing you doing interviews.
yesterday
Good for you.
was my 8th year anniversary of me
Oh,
interviewing people. When I
that's
start
crazy.
interviewing people, and I got my start. I interviewed this one. He used to be a wrestler, but now I don't know what he's doing now. But I interviewed this guy named by the name of Jason V.
Okay.
And then I interviewed Justin Reno.
Okay.
This was one of the wrestlers. And then I interviewed Andrew Boardman. But I call him Boardman because because there's an Andrew Lockhart, but I just call Andrew Boardman, you know.
Okay.
So yeah, I just
Yeah,
can't believe.
you've been doing it for a long time. I remember always seeing you having your Michael's corners at shows with people and stuff, and it's cool to see that you're doing it in a digital way too, with doing the Instagram lives and all that, and maybe you'll expand to other methods too, and get more eyes on this, on you, and on other wrestlers as well. It's cool that you're doing it. But yeah,
Mhm.
time flies, man. 8 years.
Yes, it takes years, and you know, I still have my little notebook, and it's like I just set it down, and it's like if you see me looking down, and it's that
Yeah.
I'm reading my questions, and
Oh yeah, for sure.
whatnot. So
And I appreciate, because literally, like, I wasn't joking. Like, as soon as you messaged me, because I like that you do this. 'Cause I was wondering about this. I was like, I was like wondering about the questions you would ask, and sorry, I was wondering about the questions you would ask, and I was like thinking, like, it'd be cool if he just kind of sent me a list of questions that he was gonna ask to let me know. It's like I know, and I'm thinking in sense of just like most talk shows do that, where they kind of like, you know, they talk about the stuff beforehand, behind the scenes, so they kind of, everything kind of flows naturally. So, and then right when I thought of that, you messaged me the questions that you were gonna ask, and I was like, oh, that is awesome. That's hilarious. And I was like, oh, perfect. Because he kind of, even though it's just like I'm not really thinking hard about my answers, because I've, a lot of those questions I've answered like crazy. It's like I've been on a dating app for like the last year, and I've answered the whole wrestling gear question, the wrestling question and the wrestling gear question like nonstop throughout the year with different people. So it's just like, so like those answers are like just kind of it's second nature to me. I have an outer body experience every time I answer those questions. But no, it's nice to kind of have those in the back of your mind where it's like, it's not a huge surprise what questions are going to be asked. Some people like the surprise. Some people, don't mind either way. But I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And I I gotta ask you this last question because I want to save this best for last.
Okay.
And that is, what are your thoughts on the Academy School of Pro Wrestling?
I
What
think
are
it's the
your
worst thing on earth. I hate it. I hate that it exists. I'm totally kidding. I think that its existence is an abomination of pro wrestling. No, I'm kidding. No, I think it's I think it's been a long time coming. Like I know it's been around for a few years, but mainly Ken Anderson runs it, and I got to work with Ken Anderson at an MAW show, and he was one of the coolest guys I ever got to step in the ring with, and we had a cage match, and that was a hell of a time to have. It was really fun, but no, it's like even when like Sean Devari was running in, and I think Molly Holly like originally started it, and I know Arya Davari was there too for a bit, and him and I would just kind of work together there whenever he would be in town. We just kind of like roll around and just like get some stuff in whenever he just wanted to train a little bit. And I think the fact that like it's there, it's really cool. Like it's great that people in Minnesota and the Midwest have that. Like I know there's other areas, but to have another place for guys to go to where it's like, oh, if I wanted to, I can just try and hit up Ken Anderson and say, hey, can I come through and train and just drive 45 minutes, to, I believe, the Brooklyn Park area and just go train with the guys. And it's just like, I love that. I love working with people I'd never worked with before. It's one of my favorite things to do is just work with guys that I've never worked with, especially like green guys who are just starting out in professional wrestling. So just being able to go there and just kind of do drills, or even, and I haven't done this at the academy. I've only been there a couple of times, but like I feel like when it comes to professional wrestling, my dream job is to be a trainer in professional wrestling. Like I feel like my dream is not to main event WrestleMania. As weird as that sounds, everybody should wishes they can main event WrestleMania. That is an obvious thing, but realistically, I feel it's like my dream is to just have a job where I'm training like people to be professional wrestlers. So, because like I love that feeling, I feel like I have enough knowledge, I have enough to like even now to I have a lot to bring to like the training aspect of professional wrestling. So the academy, its existence, and the people that have come out of it, like a lot of great people like have come out of the academy and gotten places really quickly because they have that hunger. And usually the advice that I give guys, because like the only thing that one of the main things that I look down upon myself when it comes to wrestling is that I didn't try to get out there enough in my first couple of years. So that's advice that I give guys is like get out there. Like once you kind of start getting your footing and you have the ability to just get into a car with a bunch of guys and just travel and go over the place, do it. Like don't become a local. Don't just be stuck in one place. Like, and I feel like me doing it over 15 years in Minnesota, it's like no one knows me anywhere else. Like I'm not like world renowned Craven Knyte. I'm not even like US renowned Craven Knyte. It's just people may have heard of me in the Midwest. That's kind of where I am, and that's on me. That's on me. I don't blame anybody else for that. But that's advice that I give other guys. It's like just don't be known as being from this one place. Like get out there, get your name out there, become known, and because that's what all these big companies want. They want people that have been somewhere, that are renowned, that people care about already. Like you have to make them like you have to make the big companies want you and not the other way around, where you want to be in the company so bad. It has to be the inverse, where wrestling companies have to want you there because they see value in you. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Now, I gotta ask you this one final question. Then, before we wrap up, who do you like to work with? If wrestling wise, like some of the kids who have graduated from the academy, who would you like to work with?
So
You
it's
never
tough
been
to
in the ring against them before.
okay. So it's tough to say because I don't really like when it comes to wrestling, unless it's like on Dynamite or on any of the WWE shows that are tolerable to watch. Um, I don't really know who anyone is. Like I don't keep tabs. I don't stay on top of like independent wrestling, local wrestling. I don't know a lot of people out of the academy. I know, so it's hard to say it's like who I really want to work with that because I haven't heard of a lot of guys. But I know guys that have come from the academy like Brandon Gore, one of the best talents I've ever worked with in the ring and one of my favorite people to work with that I never worked with before. Like when we did work together a couple times, it's like, oh, he's awesome. Like I just felt like, cause I remember him and I had a match of Steel Domain and usually my method when it comes to working with guys is that I want to have the match that they want to have. Like I want them to do whatever, as long as I won't dictate what they do and don't do. Because I hate that. A lot of guys who have been around tend to do that, and they feel like they're doing it for good reasons. But in ways, I just feel like I don't care about status. I just care about putting on an entertaining show, and if I feel like if I feel like oh yeah, that doesn't make too little sense or whatever, it does. Like if I feel like it's something you want to do, and if at this moment or whatever, it's like maybe we can shift this to here and there. Like I just don't tell them you can't do this move, don't do this move, do this move even though you've never done it before. That's been dictated to me, and someone knows almost got broken because of it. And I won't dive into too much details on that, but it was definitely not my fault. But no, like just so with him, we had the match we put together. It was our first time working, and we just have a natural chemistry. And I think for me, I always have a good chemistry with guys who are quote unquote shooters, who are guys who have the Greco-Roman wrestling or the Olympic wrestling like background. Like, because any guys like even like Chad Gable, that back when he was in Minnesota, as Chaz Best doing the little bit of wrestling he's doing out here, him and I just had a natural chemistry because like he had the Olympic wrestling background. So any guy that is just a natural athlete ever since they were a kid, like we just always have a good chemistry. So him and I were working together, and I just knew throughout the match the one thing that I needed to see from him was fire. For him to and so even during the match, I kept like asking for it, like show some life, show some fire, show some some aggression and all that stuff. And because he had everything else down, I just needed to see some character come out of him. And then we're able to talk about it afterwards, and that is when I'm able to kind of show my status as someone that has been around and just had a bunch of matches, has worked with certain people. And it's not that I know everything. No wrestler ever knows everything, but any wrestler may know enough to be able to put their stamp on the world of wrestling and show that they can educate up and comers and all that stuff. So guys like Brandon Gore, Airwolf, who's down at AEW with his brother. I got to work with him a few times, and he's just a natural athlete ever since he was younger. And yeah, but like guys that I'm looking forward to working with, really hard to say. I think at this point, since it's been over a year, I'm just happy to just get in the ring and just work with guys. Like I just want to work with guys that I haven't worked with before. I want to work with guys that I have worked with before, and just see if we can still put on a clinic. And just for me,
you said it right there.
Yeah.
It has been a year since you guys haven't wrestled, and you said it. You just said it. You want to just be able. You just want to get back to doing what you love to do,
Yeah.
and that.
And because like it took it was a huge hit on me. Like I felt like throughout the last year, and it's not to single myself out, but like the 2020 was definitely not a good year for me. It's like at the beginning, it's like my business took a hit because like people weren't gonna buy wrestling gear because they weren't really wrestling, and then I couldn't wrestle, and then like I had like my relationship ended, and then like I was just like
So
struggling with the
sorry.
whole. Oh no, it's fine. But yeah, just like a lot of different things just kind of kept, dominoing, and just happening back to back, especially with like my moving situation. So it's like it's not a whole woe is me type of thing. It's just like but when something is personal to you, it hits harder. So it's hard not to feel like, almost like the universe is kind of working against you. But it's like, but no, it's like everyone had their problems. I had mine as well, and a lot of stuff just felt like things weren't working for me, and wrestling on top of that was just like that was an outlet that I had, and it's like, and all I am now is just a gear maker. And I was like, I had more bookings in 2020 than I probably did in the last few years before that, and then they all went nowhere. And for me, I'm just like, and it's hard for me because like I feel at my age, I'm 34 now, and yes, I'm still considered young in professional wrestling, but doing it for as long as I have and still not really being known for it, besides like, people who do know me for it, like who's more local, I don't have it in me to just be like, okay, well, there's no wrestling in Minnesota. Let me try and go to this state or that state. It's like they don't know who I am. I don't have it mentally. Like I don't have the strength or the tolerance mentally and physically to just go to a different state where they don't know me and be treated like someone who's only been training for a year when I've been doing this for 15 plus. So that's my mentality on it. So that's where it gets hard for the idea of for me to get out there. It's like it's easy to just say just go this place and that place, but it's like there's a lot more to it than doing that, because like I can do that if I've only been wrestling for like a year or two, but I've been doing it for 15 years. It's like I've been taking a huge hit on my pride. I've been taking a lot of physical like stuff. Guys who don't know me will try and beat the hell out of me. And then it's like, and I can either make a name for myself fighting back, or I can lose any opportunities by fighting back. So it's just like, because I just know how fickle and unforgiving the wrestling business can be. And I've just had a lot of that. And it just makes it hard for me to really, so I feel like 2020 was supposed to be that year that like I was supposed to make more effort and try and get out there more. And then the pandemic happened. And then it's just like, so any enthusiasm and energy I had for wrestling, it's like, it really just kind of like, it all just went into a dumpster for a bit and then orders started taking off. People got their stimuluses and started ordering wrestling gear. And I'll just focus on this, because that's all I can do right now is just focus on making wrestling gear for the people who can wrestle. But it's not like I'm gonna get a booking by some guy who runs a show in Florida who doesn't know my name. But yeah.
Yeah, and I also say this too. Um, Me being a wrestling fan, my last wrestling show that I've been to was um, it was February. It was February 28th. It was at a
Okay.
Steel Domain wrestling show, and that was the last wrestling show that I've been to
Okay.
before the pandemic hit. And I I said to myself, and not going to any when this pandemic hit,
Yeah.
it really, and not going to wrestling shows for over a year and a half. Oh my God, man, I was emotionally distraught.
Oh yeah.
I mean, emotionally distraught, because here I am being I've been going to more wrestling shows than I ever went to within the last 7, 8 years, and
Yeah.
then a pandemic hit, and it's all just flushed down the toilet.
Yeah. And it really sucked. Like, it just like it's not like and I felt like it was smart to kind of stay away too, because like I was, when it comes to the pandemic, it's like it's hard to, it's like uh I'm sorry, like I have one dude sending me a bunch of messages for wrestling gear and it's getting on my nerves. But
I
but
know.
it's like I hate when guys have to send me a message after message after message after message. It's like I wish you could just put it all in one.
The
And
way you
that's
said it, I'm just laughing at the way you said that. Oh my
it's just like the little annoyances I have with like dealing with messages. As far as I think, if I could not be the one have to answer these messages, I really wish I could, because sometimes it gets my anxiety going to see like, oh, I got to read all of this just to understand. Because it's like I just want to bypass it and just not read any of it, but then I realize I have to read every single word to understand what the hell they're talking about. But
Yes.
like, so that's some guys. Some guys are very clear. It's funny because like some guys can be like, how much for this? Like, it'll be this much. Okay, cool. Like, give me your email. I'll send you an invoice. Done. Paid. It's like easiest commission in the world. And then there's guys that like, we have to talk message after message after message for days on end before they can tell me, okay, yeah, I'll pay you in 2 months. Like, you literally just wasted days of my time. This is just
Oh,
me just venting. This is me just venting because I spend a lot of time alone. So, so any opportunity I have to like, because I live alone. I just have my cat, and my cat is not very talkative. So I spend a lot. So whenever I do have a chance to actually communicate with somebody, I just unload. So
yeah,
that's
you
why it's just like,
communicate. Yeah, you communicating with me.
yeah,
You got me.
yeah. But there's a little bit of education
And
in
don't
certain
you
people
forget.
that like, yeah.
And don't you forget, we got the same birthday.
Yeah, yeah, I
Different.
can never forget you because you always keep reminding me. Just when I am about to forget, just when I'm like, you know what, I think I'm finally going to forget that Mike and I share a birthday. And then you message me saying, don't forget that we have the same birthday. And I'm like, damn, I was so close to forgetting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But except I'm 2 years older than you.
You are. You
Damn
have you have that on me. You have
it.
seniority.
But I'm 36. I'm not afraid to tell anybody my age. I'm
No.
36.
It's all about how you feel, not how, what you actually are.
Exactly, exactly.
So me,
So, oh my
I feel about
God.
80. I feel about 80. People tell me I look like I'm
Oh,
25.
shut up. You don't feel 80.
Well, no, when I walk around the house, I do. But when I
Oh,
get in the gym, I feel like I'm 18 sometimes. But it all depends.
okay. Oh my
It depends on the
God.
pre-workout, the energy drink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep, yep. I can. Oh, I don't drink energy drinks because I say to myself, you know what? I gotta avoid the energy drinks because I'm all about my health because I have high blood pressure, so I
Oh, for
gotta
sure.
watch. I gotta watch what I eat and drink
Oh
because
yeah.
if I drink that energy drinks and whatnot,
Hmm.
it's gonna, you know,
Oh yeah.
I,
I'm not a big fan of energy drinks myself. I don't like them. I just started drinking The Rock's Zoa, like his new energy drink that came out, and it's like it's sugar free, and it's just like I just use it as a pre-workout pretty much, and it actually works pretty well as a pre-workout. Like today was my first workout. I signed up for like a free guest pass for 7 days for LA Fitness since I moved. I'm right up the street from LA Fitness. So it's like, I want to try and go to a gym. It's like I got my second dose of the Pfizer vaccine, and
okay.
so after getting over, just all it did was just really make me tired. Like especially yesterday. Yesterday I was just tired for hours, and but today it's like the soreness went away, and then I don't feel that fatigue anymore. So it's like I really want to go to the gym, and just give it a try. And I've been used to going to the same small local gym, Anytime Fitness, that I've been going to for years. And I'm not used to a big gym like LA. I've been to an LA before, but and in ways like I like it, but then in ways it's just like it's overwhelming. But for the first time going to the gym, surrounded by a bunch of people, I'm not a big fan of teenagers, so seeing teenagers in the gym just kind of annoyed me, just in general. But like, but just like, but I not once did I feel like anybody was in my way. It was just like, but it was just like a lot of people more than I'm used to. So it was a lot of working out, keeping my head down. But the energy, the Rock's energy drink is pretty forgiving. Like it gives me the energy to work out, and then I don't like, I can use that if I feel like I don't need to use a regular pre-workout. So it just works out for me.
Yeah.
But it was nice to actually get in the gym and actually not have to, like, I have a bunch of stuff here, but it's a lot of setting things up, taking a lot of time to set things up and put them away. So it's just like, and I'm on a third floor of an apartment, so I'm just like, I can't do a lot of certain things. So being able to go to a gym where none of that matters, it's refreshing. So, but I'm still on the fence of whether I am going to sign up for a new membership, or if I'm going to just stick to doing it at home. I like the option of either doing one or the other. So.
Yeah. Because because you never know, you may feel like working out at home and whatnot. It's like you got a lot of options, and whatnot.
Yeah, and I want to focus on being able to, because I have a friend that does photography that is going to help me out with some new promo photos. So I want to have some new photos, because like a lot of photos that guys use for posters or the promotional materials or whatever, they're very old, because I honestly don't look much different than I did 10 years ago. And and I really, if I take new photos, I really want to look different. I don't want to look exactly the same as 10 years ago.
I was just about to tell you, you got to reinvent yourself. You got to get new 8x10 photos, because the one I got, the 8x10 photo of you, up in my closet somewhere.
Yeah.
It's that so old, You gotta update.
I got tired of selling 8x10s. Like I like being able to talk to the fans and stuff, but I hate sitting at the table and like waiting for people to come up and maybe buy stuff, maybe don't, or whatever. It's just I don't know. It feels kind of weird, especially if I'm in my wrestling gear. I'm just standing out there in my underwear, maybe a t-shirt, and hoping somebody buys something. I hate that. I'd rather have somebody do that for me. But but no, it's and I've just never been a fan of just like selling 8x10s really, but I mainly just want to have new stuff. Like I do plan on reinventing myself and doing something different, and trying to have some fun, tell some some fun stories, and just do some things that I haven't done before, things that not a lot of people have really seen before, character-wise, not so much like in ring, because like and it's funny how like I always get associated with being a high flyer, even though it's like I'm not a high flyer. Like, would you consider me a high flyer?
In some way, yes.
Okay.
But I also consider you a ground-based wrestler.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you wrestle, and I like it when you're a heel. When you wrestle, oh my goodness, oh my God, you get aggressive.
Yeah, and that's something I like doing. It's like, peek behind the curtain, like being aggressive and safe. It's like, and whenever I do stuff to people, it's like I like coming up with moves and trying to come up with stuff that people haven't really seen, but the stuff that people have seen, they're just like really impactful. And also doing stuff that is easy for me to do, but is also easy for the other person to take. A lot of guys want to do all these really fast, creative type stuff, but it doesn't mean anything. So that's something I try to gear away from. But I've never really, I don't consider myself to be a high flyer as much as I see myself more in the realm of like a Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah.
where Shelton is he's not a high flyer at all, but he's an explosive wrestler, and he brings it out when he needs to, where he can hop to the top rope and do a move, or he can do a springboard to do something, and but like, and that's how I am, where I bring it out whenever I feel like I need to, and I'll bring it out more as a face because like as a face, there's certain expectations, and because I'm capable of doing certain things, but I'm not doing a bunch of moonsaults, I'm not doing 450s, I'm not doing corkscrews, but I'll do a dive every now and then if I feel like there's enough space between the ring and the fans. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I also like, you're not as when you're a heel, you're not as ego, You're not like, like when I tell you you suck and you just give it right back to me, you're not as, you know, cocky or arrogant or whatnot.
yeah,
But if you just tune that up just a little bit, oh my God,
yeah,
I'll feel it. I'll give it. Like if you give me a hard time, I'll give you a hard time right back.
yeah. It's fun.
And I'm good at it.
It's
I'm good at
yeah.
doing it.
It's fun being like the butt of a joke because like I never, when it comes to wrestling, and I'll tell people this because I'll have like silly ideas or other friends will have silly ideas to do certain types of gimmicks. So I'm just like, I'm not a comedy gimmick guy. Like I can be the straight man if you know what that means, the straight man.
Hmm.
So straight man is like, so think of this way. So perfect example. You've been watching Monday Night Raw.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
so Randy Orton and Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle is being funny Matt Riddle. Randy Orton is being serious. Randy Orton is a straight man. Because of the contrast of Matt Riddle being silly and funny, it makes Randy Orton even funny in itself. Because like whenever certain things that he does, it just makes the whole entire segment funny. But in that instance, Randy Orton is a straight man. So for me, I see myself being more of just like a straight man where I can be the butt of a joke where I'm not necessarily going in there. I'm not going to make balloon animals. I'm not going to like trip over myself and all that stuff. But when someone else is funny with me, then I can amp up my seriousness that makes their comedy funnier. So I feel like that's a role that I can play because like I don't consider myself to be a really funny person, and if I try to be funny, I'm even less funny. So I don't
Yeah.
feel that is a realm of entertainment that is not really for me. I can be
Mhm.
funny with friends and all that stuff, having conversations, but when it comes to trying to be funny, it's just not my thing. So,
Mhm.
but just being associated with somebody or being in a segment with people where they're funny and then I'm funny just because I'm being serious or just kind of playing along with them and acting either really dumb or just very serious and not like playing along but seeming like I'm not playing along, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And it just makes for entertaining stuff. So I feel like that's a role for me. But coming out dressed as like a clown, that's not for me. But I can be serious dude and just be like played for a joke for the clown. So yeah, that's just kind of how I
Mhm.
see my role when it comes to it.
Yeah, and I haven't mentioned this to anybody, but somebody now this was before the pandemic, okay? Some wrestling fan came up to me personally and told me that you kind of remind me of Kamala. You
Really?
know Kamala? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I took that as a compliment, and
Hmm.
because I took that as a compliment because I have never had anybody came up to me personally and
Very
told
good.
me to. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's an honor that some fan kind of say you remind me of Kamala. God bless his soul, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, Craven Knight. We are, oh my God. I'm surprised we're doing this interview for like, oh my God, almost
Over
an
an hour.
hour, 15 minutes. That's a
Yeah.
record for me. Because
I'm sure it is.
usually,
When it comes to interviews, I have a bad habit of making them go long because I talk a lot.
yeah, you know what? I
But
don't know because,
yeah,
yeah,
I like
this,
having these conversations with people, and I just, it's nice to actually just, talk about this stuff. It's like whenever I get a chance to do an interview, it's just like it's nice, and to be able to talk about stuff that like I don't talk about all the time. Like, yeah, certain things we talked about, I have talked about plenty of times before, but
Hmm.
hoping for opportunities to just talk about things that I haven't talked about and just have a genuine conversation with a friend is pretty nice, and catch up in, in whatever way, because like soon we're going to see each other at shows again, and you'll be able to record, and you can cheer me or you can boo me, whatever the promoter decides, and flips the coin, decides he wants Craven Knight to be. But
Yeah,
I think Craven Knight is going to decide for himself what role he's going to play. It's just going to be up to this thing right here.
that's
So it's
right.
not going to be up to a promoter. It's not going to be up to me. It's going to be left up to chance.
Hmm.
So,
And for me, whenever I go to a wrestling show, I just sit there. It's like, and either by myself or with a friend, and we will discuss who you guys gonna root for. I say, well, we're gonna wait and see, because you
hmm
never know who I might cheer. Um, I like to be like a little, you know, I'm just gonna be. I like to be calm and collective before the storm, if you
oh
know
yeah,
what I mean.
oh yeah, I get it.
Because once you guys get in that ring, I you will hear me loud and clear.
Yeah.
And I haven't. Hey, oh my God, I'm just so excited to just get back to doing what I love, and that's to go to wrestling shows. That's
hmm
what I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for that moment to come, because when that moment comes, I'm gonna be so hyped up, and even if I have to wear a mask, I will wear a mask, because I care about my safety and the
hmm
safety of other people,
For
and
sure.
because and people, they have the right to their opinion, but I'm gonna wear a mask because I want to protect myself. I'm gonna
hmm
protect the wrestlers and the people around me.
For sure.
So so okay, well, where can fans follow you on social media?
Well, there's mainly I have a Twitter. A lot of my wrestling gear stuff from Break Night Creative goes over to my Craven Knight Twitter whenever I post photos, but I'm not a text-based guy when it comes to. I barely even put captions on any of my photos. But there's Break Night Creative, Break Night spelled Knyte, so Break Night Creative, where you see all my wrestling gear, and then there's Craven Knight here on Instagram, where you just see any random nonsense that I'm posting. It's not really anything crazy, so people can follow me if they want. If not, but I also have a YouTube channel where you can just see my backlog of stuff that I've created, whether it's props, wrestling gear, or even some wrestling related like video content. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm not really hardcore on social media other than kind of scrolling up and seeing what other people are doing. So,
Yep, and for you wrestlers out there, like if you're looking for someone to create wrestling gear, and if you can't afford, to buy wrestling gear, and if you don't want to wait a certain amount of time, like you said
when you say
earlier.
it's funny when you say it's like if they can't afford wrestling gear because they make it sound like I do this stuff for free. I don't. Like my prices have gone up over the years because of my, my gained experience and, kind of more people coming to me and stuff, but I can promise good service and communication and 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 be able to try my best to get things to people within the times that I give. Like right now, I'm really playing hardcore catch up with my current orders as I'm pretty behind, but I'm doing my best. But I definitely don't do things for free. So
Okay,
I don't want people thinking that's the case.
all right. So, like, if you're just looking for someone to make your wrestling gear, just just contact Craven
Yep.
Knight, and he will hook you up and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, he makes some of the best wrestling gear that I ever seen. You know.
I appreciate that.
Okay,
Yeah, hit me
well,
up only on the Break Night Creative pages. So on Instagram and Facebook, Break Night Creative. Those are the only times I'll go back and forth with people when it comes to wrestling gear. I always tell them to go there because it's just easier to filter that stuff on just a couple of pages, so I'm not all over the place. But
hmm
Break Night Creative.
okay, and you know what, Craven Knight, you are welcome to join my little talk show anytime. Okay, so
Sure.
if you got something coming up, or if you want if you have something to tell to the wrestling fans, just kind of let me know, and I'll let people know again, and that way, so that they know where to watch my episodes and whatnot.
For
So,
sure. I
and by the
appreciate that.
way, if I see you at a wrestling show, we gotta retake that photo again, because the photo that I used, that was at a Jerry Lynn's retirement show.
Oh, okay. I hate seeing old photos of myself. Like,
Oh my
I
goodness.
and it's funny to say because like I said that I don't look any different than I did 10 years ago. I guess I just don't like photos of myself unless they're like really good glamour shots of me wrestling, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I actually look decent there. But most of the time, me smiling for a photo, I'm just like, I hate my face.
Yeah, yeah, I tell you, when I look at that photo, my face kind of sucked, because you know how technology back in that was 2013 and whatnot.
Yeah,
So,
almost 10 years
well,
ago. Geez.
yeah, geez. Okay, well, Craven, I will let you get back to, doing your stuff, because
Yeah,
you do
gotta
good
work on
work.
these tights. Get back to work.
Mhm. All right. Well, you have yourself a good night, and thank you for taking the time to do this with me.
Sure. Thank you for having me. It was good talking.
All right.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye.
So that was a nice interview that I did with Craven Knight, and I tell you, he is one of the most nicest guys that I ever met, in wrestling or in life and whatnot. So that was a good interview. I know it's a longer interview than I expected, but this is what Michael's Corner is all about. I'm all about, interviewing wrestlers and telling it like it is. And that was quite a story. So, you guys, I'm gonna wrap up this episode of Michael's Corner. Um, you guys, you take care, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.